President Trump is apparently writing his own press releases now, and it's adorable. So look at this. The absence of communications director Michael Dubke might already be impacting the White House because the statements coming out of the press office seem a little off. In fact, some online critics are mocking a newly released statement as a parody that looks like something President Donald Trump would write himself. Quote, President Trump has a magnetic personality and exudes positive energy, which is infectious to those around him. The statement from White House spokeswoman Hope Hicks reads, by the way, quite a name if I don't say so myself, Hope Hicks. He has an unparalleled ability to communicate with people, whether he is speaking to a room of 3 or an arena of 30,000. He has built great relationships throughout his life and treats everyone with respect. He is brilliant, with a great sense of humor, and an amazing ability to make people feel special and aspire to be more than even they thought possible. The statement came in response to a Washington Post report on Trump's tendency of attacking his own staff with insults. So that was, I was considering covering that story, but it just didn't make it to the show. It was left on the cutting room floor. Trump apparently, belittles the people around him, or at least that's what unnamed sources inside the White House say. I honestly don't know if I believe it or not. It could be true, or maybe not. I don't know. But what's hilarious is that in response to that, Trump was like, this is fake news. Sad. So we're going to go ahead and do our own press release. It'll be the most amazing press release. It'll be the most tremendous press release. Believe me, let me just tell you. And so then he goes on to release this, and I don't know why he's bothering to act like it wasn't him that wrote that. Anybody can see that that's him. How do you not know that that's him? I like how they're phrasing it as something that President Donald Trump would write himself, as opposed to just saying it in the article. Yeah, no, he wrote it. Is there any doubt in anybody's mind? Can any reasonable person say, no, somebody else wrote that? No, that's Trump 101. He has such a clear rhythm and cadence and way of communicating stuff that's very distinct. And this statement just oozes with it. I mean, it's just Trump through and through. I've never seen a more Trumpian statement in my life. So I don't know why he's bothering and they're bothering to act like no, Hope Hicks wrote this. It sounds like Hope Hicks sounds like a fake person. I'm sure she's not, and I'm sure she's lovely. But that name also sounds fake. Fake news. It sounds like fake person. But yeah, there's no doubt Trump wrote this. And I'd love to see the reaction of the people in the room when Trump writes it and hands it to them. It says, we're going to say Hope wrote this. Whoever was there was probably like, oh, you sure, man? I mean, we could just say you wrote it. No, Hope wrote this. It'll be the most tremendous press release, the most amazing press release, and nobody will be onto us. Nobody will think I wrote this. Let me just tell you. And this goes right back to something that I find myself talking about often, which is just, yes, he's unfit to be president. I hate those kinds of arguments. I really do, and I think everybody in the audience knows that I hate those kinds of arguments of because they're so, what does that even really mean? He's not fit. Anybody on the right would say that about any left-wing president. Anybody on the left would say that about any right-wing president. But there is he just comes across as having a low Q and not being bright and just kind of being like a child. So, and stuff like this, I just kind of think proves that point. Who does that? Any other president, no matter how bad the president was, no matter how goofy they were, they wouldn't do this. They wouldn't. I'm going to take this matter into my own hands. This is the stuff. You know what a president would be focusing on? Very detailed stuff in foreign policy or very detailed stuff in tax policy and talking with economists. And, that's what a serious president does. Trump is fake news story that says I'm mean to my staff. I must correct this. He probably spent fucking 30 minutes crafting his goofy-ass statement where it's obviously him, and he's like, it's not me. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not me. This is how he spends his time, golfing and doing shit like this. What the fuck? Oh, it's so sad. It's so sad. He's just a child, and you're not fooling anybody, son. Part of Trump's thing is I'm going to try to make you believe the opposite of what I said the other day. Or who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? Like, that's his thing. Or let me just try to take the truth, which is clear right in front of you, and pretend like it's not there. And believe me, the con artist, over what you're seeing and what you're hearing. I mean, this is just to give one more example. It's like the Goldman Sachs thing. Over and over and over on the campaign trail, Ted Cruz bought by Wall Street. He named Goldman Sachs specifically when talking about Ted Cruz, when talking about Hillary Clinton. He said, yeah, puppets to their donors, puppets to Wall Street and Goldman Sachs. Now, by the way, that's true. Hillary Clinton, Ted Cruz, yes, puppets to Wall Street, no question. But then when Donald Trump gets elected, he's appointed at least 4 different Goldman Sachs officials in his administration. That's like hypocrisy on steroids and human growth hormone. I mean, it's so in your face. Not only did he appoint them, he let Steve Mnuchin and Gary Cohn, the Goldman Sachs lackeys, write his tax plan and then present it. Like, it wasn't even like, hey, let's have them write it in the shadows, but somebody else will present it, because that hypocrisy is too much. I was just railing against Goldman Sachs, and now Goldman Sachs is going to present my plan? That's crazy. No, he's like, go ahead. So that's the same kind of thing here. It's clearly Trump with how he's speaking or how he's writing. But no, Hope wrote it. I didn't write it. Hope wrote it. Who are you kidding, dude? Who are you kidding? So that's why I even bother to cover these stories that don't have much to do with policy, is because this says something about the man. And the bar is high for me to take a non-policy story and cover it on this show. But stuff like this really just shines a light on the character and the intelligence of the person we're talking about.